We live. Come on in and join the live. For those that see it later, if you would like to donate to a viewer donation pool, the CA is PEKA69 so we can get some action. Now, yesterday I offered a live pool, which is something that I really don't do. So I want to see how it takes off. Now, when I advertise it, that is the time for everyone to come in and ask their questions. Other than that, you can email me at oracleoftheether@gmail.com and book with me. You will find this information in some of my older videos. I want to talk about what I seen yesterday and give my opinions on it. Now, I know that juvie is a hot topic. All the hot boys are a hot topic right now because they got longevity. Now, because I know that his medium of preference is the gram, there's things that I notice about that particular app. And for me, it's a totally different experience. And some may believe it's because I trained the algorithm, but I beg to differ. Now, when I came on that app, because of when I chose to reactivate it, because I've been on that app for years, I just shut it down, which is something that I like. You can shut it down. You could block off certain individuals. Greetings. I appreciate all my members. You could block off certain individuals from viewing you for life. But I'm someone that is very proactive and I pay attention. I'm an observer. And because I observe before I speak, that says a lot. Now, what he was showcasing, I don't believe he did yesterday, but he may have, because when I go on the gram, the device that I use, it says no connection. So that means that I'm not able, hold on, y'all. That means I'm not able to comment, to follow people and stuff like that. But the things that I'm supposed to see, I see it. So since it's not working the way I like it to work, I don't go on it. Now, occasionally, depending on where I'm at, I'll get notifications. The same with Talkity Tick. I'll get notifications of certain artists, celebrities, stars. Not all of them. Similar to here on this protocol. If I'm following or subscribe to a channel, I only get notifications when I'm in certain places. Now, some may feel like it's a malfunction, but I beg to differ. So a lot of times, these artists, entertainers that I share, I'm already following. I've been following for years in some cases. And so when I don't see that they put new content out, it is because I'm not where they're putting it out. Now, that could be something that a lot of individuals find hard to grasp. But because it's been happening for me so long, it's not. Now, the reason why I'm choosing to talk about Juvie is because he decided that he would allow individuals in to his life, which I know for certain type of men is not easy to do. We were able to see his beautiful wife and their new home. Now, because I am who I am, the energy that that person captured was not one that is good, okay? And it's a lot of people that want to see your downfall just because they want to have something to talk about. So my suggestion is, if there's any celebrities, specifically men that have longevity in the game, I don't suggest that you show individuals where you gonna sleep, because people do things like project themselves, astral travel, and do all of this type of stuff to see if they can enter into your domain. Now, I am happy for that family. However, what I feel is that going forward, if you get a notion, if you sense something is off on a live, and you are trying to share with your true supporters, your true fans, if you feel some kind of way, don't do it, because not everybody can be an influencer in that manner. Now, y'all know what I'm talking about because y'all are the hip ones. You know that specifically the influencer genre on this protocol is one where they'll do that. They'll give you house tours and stuff like that. For the celebritized rappers specifically, they need to go through a different medium. And that is one where they film it and present it and not show it live, because people do things like put me in Juvie's house. And when you have ascended, that's not something that is good, because you have to know who you are in your rank. If you have past life karmic ties with individuals, that means you are a being. At some point, you were reincarnated and incarnated. And when these individuals ascend to a higher height, they start practicing things. Now, because he is from the South, I know he is already aware with Vodun, Voodoo, Isikinio, spiritual stuff. But when it comes down to astral projection, lucid dreaming, and things of that sort, he might not be too well versed. So I can see the irritation in his eyes when he was reading some of the content. Now, when he was reading some of the comments. Now, towards the end, she said that she was going to delete it, because what I gather is she sensed something as well. However, if they deleted it or not, I don't know, because by the time I seen it, it was already on this protocol. So that means it's going through different places. It's important because not everyone could do what they see someone else do, even if they have popularity. I would advise against it. If someone from his team were to contact me and say, what do you see? What do you feel? I would give them the honest to the man upstairs truth. That his energy is one of All-Siki. He's very high-ranking spiritually. And so that means where he is at, he has to be guarded. And I'm not talking about with clacks, because I'm sure he has that. I'm talking about spiritually. Now, you all know that it's certain celebrities, entertainers, rappers specifically, that I follow, and I follow them for a reason. And it's not just because I'm fanned out, okay? So I do a lot of joking because I like to smile. But when I see certain stuff, it does something to me. Now, with Mr. Gibson, I don't get that, and it's because he is who he is. But with Juvie specifically, because it was a brand new place for him to reside, him and his wife and his family, I said he needs to know that he don't need to do that with anything else. You done already gave us a bird's eye view of how you live in, which is a beautiful home. I looked at it, I said, I seen them marble counters. I said, that's nice. That stove, all that stuff is nice. But if he were to contact me or his beautiful wife, I would give them my opinion, my professional opinion on what is taking place in that energy spiritually. I also seen what some may say is satire with certain well-known artists that I'm not going to name, because when you see things specifically on YT and people start speculating, is it real, is it not, especially when it's beef, what y'all should realize is certain men don't put things out for satire. And so when you add public opinion to it, it makes it worse. Then you get those that want to dramatize everything, make everything like it's really beef. And if something were to happen, there'd be a whole bunch of speculation on who all is involved. They feel like that's going to get them some views. But the protocol that I'm seeing it on, it's not happening. I don't care what count you see attached to their name. It's not. Because the man upstairs is not going to allow it to be seen. Now, I've seen a mixture of old photos, new photos, just like with Mr. Gibson. The way the content is presented on some channels, you wouldn't know, for instance, who he was divorcing. Was it the wife before? Was it the second wife? Because the way they put it out is jumbled up with no explanation. If I were to create content like that, it would be totally different. If I were to showcase and highlight celebrities and their business, it would be totally different. I would do it to where it makes sense. You're going back and forth from one wife to another, to a girlfriend, to a dude when they was younger, to now, to it's not. It has no continuity. Y'all know when you create, it has to have continuity, even if it's a video production. It doesn't make sense. I like to perfect what I'm doing. I don't just want to put something out and it just don't make no sense. So when y'all see content presented on these applications, because that's what they are, realize that you're getting a mixture of old and new. So when it spreads, it might not be accurate, and it's coming off as satire, not informational. So it's totally different from the film, motion picture, major productions. You look at a major production, a movie that you can go into an establishment and see, you'll notice that it flows. It has continuity most of the time. Even okay, like with Constantine, there's a specific part with Constantine, and I noticed that is when he gets on a bus. Okay, and when he gets off the bus, what I gather happened there is a clip, a portion of it was lost or damaged. So the average person looking is not going to notice something like that. But for me, no, I know how a film is produced. And if it don't flow, I'm going to be able to tell. Now, if you're talking about a music video, it's different. But when you're talking about content where people are watching, it has to make sense. You do watch music videos, but they are created different. You don't have to have continuity with a music video. It's better if you don't have continuity. This is why you see all these little clips that are probably a few seconds or a minute, and they just jumble them up all together. Fast cuts. When they're going from this scene to the next scene to this scene, it is good for music, but not for this type of protocol if you're not a musician. So some of it is pretty good. You all start noticing different genres when people showcase other artists' content, because that's what they're doing. When they just allow the artist to speak and they may have their name there or whatever graphics there, they're giving you the raw and uncut. That's a certain genre. If I go on and I'm live, that's a certain genre. If I upload a video that has an intro and an outro, whether or not if it's edited in between, that's a certain genre. Now y'all see, because these are pictures that you're looking at, that's a different genre. It's totally different from what I did a few months ago, where you can see me shuffling and the cards is coming out. And some people get used to certain type of styles, and that's all right. But with me, you're going to get different stuff. You may not even, outside of my membership, I might be doing something totally different in a year. Would you watch one of Ether's motion pictures? You think I'd be a good video production artist? I'm somebody that likes media. I like to present things to people. For me, that's where it's at right now. So a lot of you, most of you that have been in your careers for 10 years, you've mastered it. Whether or not if you think you have or not. If you've been in something 10 years plus, you've mastered it. There's no facet of anything that could take you by surprise, because you've already formulated a plan for if this happened. You know how many hours it's going to take to do this. You even know how long it's going to take you to get there, to get back. You know what you need to do, if you got to get a passport, if you got to go across the sea, if you got to go down the street. You know how long it's going to take you. When you get ready to file your T's, you know pretty much the outcome, because you've been in it 10 years. That's a decade. You can learn a lot about your career, yourself, in a decade. We don't tend to get any new energy outside of inside of a decade. So what I'm talking about is, you then experience everything that you needed to experience for that 10 years. That's a decade. It's not an era. ERA. Okay? An era is something else. An era could last 20 years. An era could last 100 years. So if y'all understand what I'm saying to you, the reason why it's important is because I have a lot of people that have different types of careers. These next videos that I put out, specifically behind the scenes, you're going to understand that I'm able to pinpoint your energy. And you may feel like, if I'm able to do it, what is someone else able to do? And you're correct with thinking that way. Because when they ascend, especially when they're not supposed to, they do things. And it messes up other people's livelihood down the line. And so this is what we're attempting to fix. Now, because somebody feels like they need to come in and start saying random words, hoping that I would pick up on it and say it, repeat what they're saying, so they can act as if they're controlling my thoughts. Prime example. Now, what this individual that is a dude does not realize is, there's beings that hear you. You haven't ascended up far enough to where you understand that other types of beings can hear you when you communicate telepathically. You don't even know how to protect yourself in that manner because you feel like you're going to make me flubber up when they're already doing it. As soon as you walk outside and you grab that paper from in front of your door, you're going to notice things that are on sale that you don't want. Please make sure to put it in the recycle bin that is marked paper, not cans, since you are an upstanding citizen. Funny how that is, right? These are individuals that on the low, they act how they really want to act. And then when you sit in front of them, they act like they're better than you. And you say things like, man upstairs, why would you allow this person to treat me like this? This is a prime example of those ascending higher that's not supposed to. Because once they get there, they don't want to leave. They don't want to leave the door open for others to come behind them. Matter of fact, what they do is they shut it. If they got a break, they say, this person is definitely not going to get a break. They went through the same program as me. They have the same education skills. They may be overqualified. They're definitely not going to come through my door, and they slam it. You ever encounter someone like that? You look at them, you say, oh, this person is successful. They got a lot going on, especially if they're younger. They're already in the field that I'm trying to get introduced into. Maybe they'll give me a break, and then next thing you know, you got a knob in your face. Or you ever run into someone and they're a supervisor. This is important. They're a supervisor, and you happen to be older than them. This is somebody, Moni test. They're younger than you, making more money than you, and they know you don't like them, and they purposely do whatever they can to irritate you. And then on Friday they say, I'm going out to the club. And you're hoping to catch something on a Fugazi account that would implicate them in something that they didn't do. And, oh, he left. You see where I'm going with this? You ever just had a supervisor or a coworker follow you solely on social media, solely for the purpose of trying to catch you slipping? That's all they're there for. They want to see if you're taking a few back, if you're around any oak that starts with a SMO. If you're around any of that, so they can suggest that you get one dropped. You know what I'm talking? You ever been in a field where they just drop them randomly on you? All of a sudden, your livelihood is just gone, just that quick. Someone it's interesting to me. Someone felt like they had all of their I's dotted and their T's crossed, because if they were to experience homelessness, they have 6 months worth of savings. To them, 6 months worth of savings mean they could pay their rent, their mortgage, their car note. But it's amazing how the God will make you forget about your insurance, whatever kind. There's several kinds. He'll make you forget about your utilities. And then, forbid something break down. You ever bought a set of new tires Then you start looking for Jose, because Jose got him for $50. Then you want to know where Jose is at. Because before Jose, you wasn't messing with Jose. You just driving around, spending $20 on gas, because the ones that you feel like you can afford are now $80 a piece. A piece. Y'all ever seen them advertisements where they say, get tires at $72? And then they have a roundabout figure, and it'll be like $162.99. And then you get there and it's only 2 tires. You gotta read the fine print. You see somebody saying a piece. You mean $57 a piece? What about the installation? It's, I have to pay for you to get rid of them? You mean it's not included? Then next thing you know, you're leaving out with a whopping $700 bill. And Jose said he could do it for you for $219. Bless Jose. We all want to send a blessing, a thanks to Jose this morning. How y'all doing? When y'all see Jose, buy him some coffee, because he don't need that. He don't need that yeast this morning. It's very important, because you don't miss your water till your well runs dry. You know, some people, when they make a lot of money and they're reduced to having to sleep in their car or at their mom's house, it does something to them. Y'all know anything about that? Which reminds me, I seen Tiffany Haddish. Y'all familiar with Tiffany Haddish? She has longevity, regardless if you think she is entertaining or funny. She's been in the game over 10 years. I remember when I was introduced to Tiffany Haddish, she was very vocal about sleeping in her car. For those that are in that genre, it's not uncommon. You ever just wonder how somebody makes so much money? And my favorite, one of my favorites, Mr. Mayweather. They happened to catch him, or he filmed himself. Looks like he was on a tour bus. And he had an extremely large Ziploc bag, and he said, it's the bread bag. Then he put that little fold of tip money in the bread bag. He said, this is the tip money. I said, I thought he was gonna put it in his pocket. He put it in the bread. He put it in the bread bag. Wait a minute, if it's the tip money, why is it going in the bread bag? I say he's one of my favorites because he is. He is very cocky and egotistical. But we don't live Mr. Mayweather's life. We don't know why he's like that. Then I seen Boosie. Well, I didn't see him. I saw his adolescent. And I said, I've seen some other stuff that I know came up in my readings for sure. These are the celebrities that feel like they don't need my content, or they don't have to get a reading. The next thing you know, clank, 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 clank. Then you got your children talking bad about you, and it don't matter if it's true or not, because if it's your children, people gonna believe it. It's a certain era that feels like my parents got it. When your own child say you broke, it hit different. Now, you know what they say about assumptions, but well, I'm gonna go out on a limb and assume that if he is broke, he know it. So it's no news to him. But when you have an adolescent that feels like their parent has fame, right? And so that means they should get a brand new car, not a brand new used car. When they start talking about they want to wear Chanel and they want a Rolls Royce, a cat. If they knew about Bugattis, they would say they would want that one too. And you sitting up there saying, I ain't even got no Bugatti. I remember when I first purchased my child a tablet. This is the one on the Spectrum. We went back to the store and he wanted an iPad. And I said, all right, let me look and see. The one he wanted was a professional one. I said, I ain't even got a professional one. And I create content. Fast forward 4 years later, he done had 4 iPads. Y'all know what I'm talking about? And I still got the same Pro one. Some don't realize that your money is yours. You ever just be dealing with someone, whether or not if it's your creation, and they just don't realize what's yours is yours? My father wasn't like that. My father, my biological father, he was not like that. When I went to college, I had to pay for my own college. When I purchased a car, I had to pay for my own car. What he said to me was, if you graduate high school, I'm gonna buy you a car. I didn't graduate high school. I did later on, but not when he said he was gonna buy me a car. And he was adamant he was not finna do nothing that was outside of the specifications in that contract. Now it's like, you not gonna do this? Okay, watch this. Let me flip on this app. And you know when they get to doing that head gesture and they in the hand, if I were to do that to my parents, I wouldn't have a neck. Y'all know what I'm talking about? My neck would be on the ground. You get to rolling your neck and see what happens. They just lose all sense. All of it is just gone. And you just laid there on the ground in pieces. That's the era I come from. You're not finna disrespect your parents. Some may say it's a good thing, some may say it's a bad thing. But what I'm telling you is, because my era and those that may be a little bit older felt like we not gonna do what our parents did. And the outcome is they rolling their neck and calling you BROKE on media. Because you did not make them do the things that are conducive of growth. And you start noticing the difference. Now, if you grew up in the hood and the Jets specifically, it's probably normal. It would. It, I didn't. I wasn't raised that way. And even some males, females, women, and men that grew up in the Jets have a certain level of respect. They're not gonna disrespect elderly. They're not gonna say and do things in front of adolescents. So I'm sure it's somebody from the Jets saying we didn't do that. And my mama was this, that, and the third. You just be around individuals that just are just so disrespectful. These ones don't have longevity because when they become accustomed to being disrespectful to people, they go out into the real world and stuff happen. You know what I'm talking about? I heard Boosie in the background saying all kind of stuff. He didn't realize at that moment he was being taped. This is what happened when you got fame. It come from the unlikely source. And they just egging it on, egging it on, egging it on, and you mad. You hotter than fish grease. He probably wouldn't have cared if they said, look, I'm taping you. But when it come from your own, it hit different. And when you already attempting to repair your image, get more contracts, you know what I'm saying? Forbid that you go under and you have to live with one of those ones that you help spoil rotten. It hit different. You gonna understand. Some of them ain't even gonna allow you to live with them. They teaching you a lesson. Y'all know what I'm talking about? I come from the era when the ones that grew up and they didn't have much, those are the ones that are successful right now. The ones that had a whole bunch, I'm talking about my era, my age group, not my children's. Longevity for some mean you still here. You still amongst the living and breathing. Even though you done been through all type of stuff. For some, that's an accomplishment. You still alive. Y'all don't think so? Depending on where you're from, it is. Because I'm somebody that is an observer, I understand that there's different walks of life. And because there's different walks of life, the outcome is different. The raising is different. Rearing, yes. That's discipline when you have to rear. That's a whole different aspect of the same spectrum. Yeah, I'm trying to see what else. I talked about why I mentioned Tiffany Haddish. Because some people will say they have humble beginnings, they live a regular, normal person's life. But you ever try to get off into a career and then you wondering how do people make it? Because they're not making much money? You start seeing the real side of media, of being a celebrity. You start understanding the difference between fame and wealth. If you caught up in the energy that we in right now, ain't no capitalizing off of your fame. Because the man upstairs is not going to allow it. And you start thinking, I need to do something. And then he sits you down. A sit down means something happened to you. where you can't do nothing and you just got to go through the motions. You got to go through it. And if you happen to have an adolescent child, grown up, that's a child. That means you gave birth to them, but they an adult now, for those that are wondering. And they really ain't been through nothing yet, but you see signs of it. You see signs of what their future is going to hold. And they not trying to help. And you say, you only got one mama, you only got one daddy. You got multiple siblings, but is there any togetherness? You ever experience years of people in your family just being no more, year after year after year after year? One more gone, one more gone, one more gone. I'm talking about family, not friends, or what you believe to be friends. Someone that is in a stable mind is going to say that my family is the ones that are going to be there for me if I need them. That's a rational thinking person, not a friend. Although some of your friends, you've known them so long and you have that type of rapport where you can go to a friend, but not all the time. I know that there is people that have grew up in the foster system that have more of a tight-knit family structure than some that are with their biological parents. You don't realize this until you start talking to people. Then some of that grief is able to come off of you when you say, I don't know who my mother is, my father is. I got relatives, siblings, I don't know who they are, but this has been my mama. This is who's raised me. This is who is still here. This is who has my back. And you start seeing it as a blessing because you just don't know. Now, because I am who I am, I can tell you why it's like that. But you don't know unless you watch and you reach out. Sometimes that is what you're guided to my channel for. The satire mixed with truth is the one where they're trying to paint a narrative because they're going someplace with this. Now, the rappers that are successful because they branched off into a different genre are already aware. Those are the ones that don't, they may give you a little taste. They're going to give you a little taste of how they feeling, but they're not going to dot all the I's and cross all the T's because they don't know who's watching. I'm not going to go into who I'm talking about, but I know that they mean business. And you can tell by their eyes. You got to start looking into people's eyes. The eyes are the window to the soul. That is it.